so busy watching the girls do their fire dances. Um, I almost forgot to pop in. Right, okay. So, won't you guys do me a favor? We had a little, or well, Facebook appeared to have a little brouhaha this morning at Open Pagan Church and decide that I could not see the post that was going on. I thought nobody was in, thought nobody was involved. Come to find out later from a phone call that there was quite the conversation going on. Boy, I felt bad. Yeah. So, if you guys are popping in and posting questions and what have you during the live broadcast, and I don't reply, I'm not being rude. I don't see you posting. Somebody say something. Either IM, PM, text, something. Most of the regular listeners do have my contact information. Okay, last of the series. Been a long series, been a good series. Tonight, as you well know, as is posted in the introduction, but I will make the comment. This evening is adult content. Not quite X rated, but damn sure way above R rated. I think they rate that MA, mature audience. So, if you're watching this and you're watching the pre recorded broadcast later on, there you have your warning, as it were. So, if the kiddos are underage or under adult age to be watching this type of, or listening to this type of conversation, you might want to bugger on off somewhere else unless you don't mind your children being enlightened about astral sex. Some of the comments and conversations in this broadcast might raise your eyebrow in concern because we will be talking about things that you might find a little bit off. Okay, I'm going to unpin the comment. All right. So if you guys are chatting and you guys are typing and I'm not responding, somebody hit me up and let me know. Here we go. What the hell part is this? Hell, I can't even remember anymore. Part 9, I think. Yes, part 9. Astral. Sex. Sex in the astral. Astral sex. Sex in general. Let's talk about a few moral aspects, if you will. Last week, we talked about relationships in the astral. Whether or not your personal morality would allow you to have relationships in the astral. And I outright said, we would cover that in deeper fashion this week. So let's talk about individual morality. Morality cannot necessarily be judged, implemented, or enforced by public society. Why? Because public society has a different variation and perception and idea of personal morality than I might, than you might, than somebody else might. Right? And I will discuss during this broadcast some of the things that are deemed illegal and not supported and can get your ass in deep shit in the astral. Yes, I will be using the occasional left-handed word right down the center. This does happen to be one of my most favorite topics: sexuality, human sexuality, and astral sexuality. It also combines in with tantric, okay? Sexual energy and the use thereof, right? So, does your personal morality allow you to be able to, while in a committed relationship, do the following: fantasize, have astral sex, have phone sex, have tantric sex with others? If you don't know what tantric sex is, dig back through the videos and find my broadcast on tantric sex. Okay. So these would be your own personal moral values that you would need to ask yourself before you got involved with someone in the astral. Now, astral sex is easy as long as you have a willing participant. I say again, as long as you have a willing participant, or two, or three, or four, or whatever you're into. Here are some things that over the last couple of decades that I've been um, poking around in the astral, as it were. A couple of things that I have found out and learned for myself. One, in the astral, bestiality is not illegal. I will say that again. Human beings interacting with metaphysical creatures, human beings interacting with mythological creatures, Pegasus, unicorns, whatever. They're not frowned upon. They're not looked down on. They're not questioned. Nobody looks twice. Nobody thinks twice in the astral. Alright, if anybody's posting or commenting, I can't see them. Why can't I see them? Alright guys, if you all are commenting, I can't see anything. So I'm going to continue on, and if anybody says anything, well, hopefully I will get a notification or something. Okay, so I refresh the page and I can actually see comments. Boy, this is going to really piss me off if I have to keep refreshing the page. Okay, when you hear this, post yes. Yep, I'm not seeing a damn thing in the chat area. But if I refresh it, okay, so I'm just going to have to do it this way and keep a closer eye on it. I see them now, but anyway, we're going to continue because I don't want to run out of time trying to figure out what the shit's wrong with Facebook. Facebook's been irritating the hell out of me over the last week or two anyway. Been slower than hell, and that's on my office computer at work, my office computer here, and my personal laptop in there. It's been slower than shit. I don't know what these idiots are doing. But anyway, we're going to continue on astral sex. Yes. How? How do you have, or how do you get involved in astral sex? Well, the same way you would on this plane. Um, you go to astral. If you find a pub or someplace you like, or people that you might know, you can schedule meetings in the astral with people that you know on the earth plane. You can say, hey, let's meet up in astral, see if we can remember having sex in the astral, and then communicate the next day and see if we remember somewhat the same things. That's kind of the way I did it when I was first working on my astral sexuality. About 60% of the time to start out, I was right. They were right. We actually had memories of sexual interaction in the astral. Now, the one thing I found out rather interesting, though, when communicating with friends on the earth plane that you've met in the astral, specifically to try this out, I have found that very seldom do the places that you have sex actually match. Um, I had one many, many years ago that my memory of it was, see, where was it? It was out in the woods on a hammock. Their memory of it was in a cabin by an ocean in the cabin. The actions, the feelings, the positions we got into, the emotions and everything that went along with it, those were just almost a dead match. But I found it interesting that every time I tested the theory with a friend of mine on the earth plane in the astral, the places that we interacted were different from my perception to theirs. I found that kind of interesting. Um, I haven't really done that in years, I don't think. Although I am told from time to time my spirit likes to run amok and go out and do things. I find that rather, I'm not going to actually say disconcerting, but I do find it rather um, confusing sometimes, most especially depending on what things they've told me I've done. And in case you're wondering, I am going back and forth looking to see if anything has been posted in the questions and the Q&A. I just said to hell with it and started periodically refreshing my page. Um, there will be Sabrina. Okay, so yes, you can very easily have sexual relations in the astral. How's it done? Simple. Same way it's done on the earth plane. Meet, ask, see what happens. There you go. There are things in the astral that will get your ass in deep shit by spirit guide, counsel, if you have one, spirit guides, which most everybody that I know of in the pagan philosophy has in one type or another. These are the things that will get your ass in trouble in the astral as far as sexuality goes. 1. Rape. Rape will get you in deep shit in the astral, just like it will on this plane. Um, Sexual aggression against an unwilling partner, also known as sexual harassment, will get you in deep shit in the astral against an unwilling partner. And molestation. Duh. Okay? Things that are not frowned on in the astral is incest with willing partners, ancestral sex with willing partners. So let's just assume that everything from here is with a willing partner, right? Okay? Bestiality will not get you in trouble in the astral. Having sex, like I said earlier, with metaphysical creatures, mythological creatures, with any kind of creature in the astral will not get you in trouble in the astral as long as your partner is willing. Now, as I've said before, I do not have sex and tell. I do not talk about my relationships. I do not mention names, places, or dates, as well as you shouldn't either, unless it's in consensual agreement with the individual. Here's why. You may think I'm wacky. I am wacky, but that's beside the point. But here's the reason you don't want to talk about on the earth plane the things you did in the astral and who you did them with, is because the partner you did it with, now listen close, if the person that you had astral sexual relations with, you also know on the earth plane, and you call them up or you see them the next day, hey, I really enjoyed last night on the astral. Damn, that was some unbelievable sex. They may not know, realize, or even care to discuss it. So unless you have prearranged an astral meeting or you have an open invite with a particular individual or set of individuals or whatever, however many people you're into, okay? Unless you have a prearranged agreement or an open agreement to say, hey, meet up with me anytime, I would strongly recommend you keep your mouth shut, because you're going to end up pissing somebody off and could possibly lose a good friend because of it, because that is considered non-consensual astral sex if an individual is unaware of what their spirit's doing. Now herein lies another variable. I'm going to talk about the difference between astral sex and fantasy. There's a very fine line between astral sex and fantasy. Fantasy begins and ends in here. Okay? Fantasy begins, stays, and ends in here. Phone sex is not a fantasy. That's phone sex. Phone sex is not astral. It's phone sex. You do, however, use tantric energy during phone sex. Okay? So do not confuse OBE, and I'll talk about that in a minute, Do not confuse OBE with fantasy with astral. Astral is a spiritual physical connection sexually among two or more people in the astral plane with consent. How do you know it's real? Well, what is real? Okay. Real, well, this is a paper towel and it meets all the criteria for being real, right? It has textile, it has feeling, I can see it, I can smell it, I can taste it. Blah. So it meets the criteria for being real. Astral is, as I have said a million times, is as individual as the people that live it and visit it. One person's memory of a meetup in astral may not always match the other person's perception of the place you met in astral. Now, if you have a pub or a meeting place that you like to frequent in astral, describe it to your friends, whatever, okay? Describe it to them and say, hey, request a meeting at this pub. The name of it is blah, blah, whatever. Um, and see if they can meet you there and see if there's a memory of it. See if their memory matches that of yours. It makes it fun. It's kind of cool. As far as whether or not you can have sex at the pub, there are quite a bit of open sexual pubs in the astral, which don't have a problem with people throwing down on the table. Table, bench, floor, wherever. Don't ask me how I know that. But the conversation of astral sex, unless you have somebody that is comfortable with their sexuality, that is comfortable enough with themselves, quite a few people will not agree to astral sex. Probably 1 out of 15 that I have talked to over the last 20 some odd years has agreed to an attempted astral meeting and then a discussion afterwards to see what happened. It just freaks their shit out for some reason. And a lot of these people call themselves pagan, and a lot of these people are very open sexually on this plane, on the earth plane. But boy, you start talking about astral and tantric and OBE and all this other stuff, they're like, no. Okay. Whatever. What's the difference between astral sex and OBE or out of body sex? Right? Astral, duh, is done in the astral. Done on the astral plane with consenting spirits. OBE, out of body experience, is done on the earth plane with the meshing of 2 or more spirits for the purpose of having sexual sex. Now, and again, I can't tell if anybody's posting because I can't see a damn thing thanks to Facebook. Refresh the freaking page again and see if anybody's saying anything. Okay. There's a question that says, so basically what happens in astral stays in astral. You're absolutely correct. What happens in astral stays in astral. Unless you and the individual agree to talk about it outside of the astral. Sabrina says, how do you know that, Don? No, 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 no. Me no humpy and telly. Nope. I will just tell you that I have been there, done that. Clint hit the nail on the head. He just does. Absolutely. He just does. This live feed sucks on Facebook lately. Hit the nail on the head. He just does. Absolutely. I'm serious. The live feed used to work wonders. Now it sucks. But anyway, so how are there ever any physical signs of astral sex? Yes, for me, there has been. Not all the time, very rare, in fact. But I have awoke the next morning with the physical evidence of sex on my person. I'm trying not to get really gross or rude in case there are little ears listening. But yes, I have woken a few times, and like I say, it is rare, but I have woken a few times with physical evidence of astral sex. And the same with OBE sex, out of body experience. Um, I've woken more with physical evidence of OBE sex than astral sex. If anybody notices what I just did, you'll know what I'm talking about. So, onward and upward. Let's talk more about blending visions and astral sex. What does that mean, blending visions? Well, unless you have prearranged a meeting place with your intended, we'll put it, okay, your partner or partners in astral, unless you have prearranged a meeting place that is already in your thought processes of where you want to go, a particular beach, a particular cabin, or some place on the side of a mountain, whatever. If you have prearranged this meeting place and you have prearranged where you want to go and what you're going to do when you get there, barbecue, cook off, um, whatever it is you're going to do, then you want to prearrange that and see if you can remember it, right? See if you can remember where it is you were going to meet, what it looked like. Remember details, okay? Say, for example, if it was a cabin, and there's a big enough cabin out in the woods somewhere where you and several people, and some metaphysical creatures, if you want, okay? We're going to meet at this particular cabin. The first thing you want to do is get together and kind of enjoy it and talk about it after the experience is done, and then you can kind of trade notes, you know. Um, Clint says campfire has s'mores. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you can also do astral campouts. See what happens. Get several people together. Um, Male, female, 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 male, 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 female, female, however you want to make it go. There's no taboos. The only taboos are destructive behavior in the astral. The guardians of the astral, your spirit guides, will typically, will never actually tolerate that. Now, in retrospect, okay, in retrospect, let's talk about the lifestyle, right? I'm not talking about um, I'm not talking about the polyamorous lifestyle. I'm talking about the BDSM community. I have worked security at some of the BDSM parties, and I was very honored to have done so. However, there are certain aspects of BDSM that I personally cannot stand and watch. For my own personal well being, I cannot stand and watch. One of them is rape scenes. I cannot stand and watch someone who is playing out a rape scene. It does happen, it's very frequent, and they have, you know, keywords, trigger words, safe words, green, yellow, red, okay, no, stop, faster, whatever. Because in a rape scene, of course, they're screaming, no, don't touch me. They're screaming, get away from me. They're screaming all of the negative terms that someone with my training, my background, and my temperament would flare up and just dope pop the shit out of somebody. Well, you can't do that when you're at a BD party, right? So when I did work security at these gigs, I made an arrangement with the guys that were working the security with me. Um, if there was a rape scene, you would stand guard to be sure things go okay and nobody gets carried away. And I would muck on down the alley, the aisle, where there might be another cubicle with other stuff happening, as it were. So each of us, everybody has their own boundaries. And even in the astral, you will have your own boundaries. You will have your own things that you can do. Yeah, like Sabrina said, have a safe word. Clint says, not me. Yep, I'm right there with you. I can't do BD S&M scenes, quite frankly. I'm sorry, I'm allergic to pain. Somebody hits me across the ass with a paddle. Um, they'd have to stick a stick up my ass just to find it and holler snake. Maybe it'd jump out and play. Because other than that, pain hits, gone. You won't see it for days. Absolutely. Out of here. So I'm still trying to figure out why. Um, I'm still trying to figure out why Facebook is not interacting with the live feed, but I'll deal with it and put up with it. So this is this is our last segment in Astral. Next week I will do a review. We'll come together. We'll talk about some of the things we covered. Hit the highlights. Hit the top ends. Answer some questions. Maybe you guys have had, so you might want to go back and rewatch some of the videos. Maybe read through some of the comments and notate your questions that you want to ask next week. Next week will be it. Um, yeah, there's a post over there that says the part of the lifestyle that has to do with littles. Um, can't handle that. I get it. Right there with you. So everybody has their boundaries. And it comes down to, what do you constitute as sex in your mind? Those of you watching the live broadcast and those of you watching the pre recorded broadcast, what constitutes a sexual act in your mind? I've known people through the years that a blowjob does not constitute sex. I've known people through the years that deep throat kissing with sucking each other's tongues constitutes a sexual act. I've known people that um, in their relationship the jealousy angle is really high. So the mate looking at someone else and going, damn, that's a nice ass, constitutes a form of infidelity. So you have to decide for you what constitutes um, infidelity. What to you constitutes infidelity? Um, there was a couple of posts here. Clint says there's a lot of lag going on. I see Sean just joined. Sean, if you put anything in the chat area, I'm only seeing it. I'm only seeing it when I refresh. The live feed is not working. So, but in astral sex, we have to remember a few basic rules: consensual, respect, right? If you're into um, alternative sexual excursions in the astral, go for it. I mean, me personally, and I'm going to say, me personally, um, I've never done it, but I have no problems with bestiality on the earth plane. If that's what folks want to do, more power to you. I mean, hell, I grew up on the ranch, on the farm. It was commonplace to hear the term barnyard follies. Okay, what people are going to experiment. People are going to experiment with their sexuality. They're going to experiment with different forms of their own sexuality. Um, so I apologize that I have to stop on occasion because I have to refresh the page and then read what's been posted. Um, Sabrina's moved to around the Hunt area, around San Antonio. Wow, 100 miles west of San Antonio. Holy shit. Damn, girl, when you move, you move. Um, okay. So, what do you think? Have you, or do you ever remember any form of astral sexuality? Actually having sex in the astral. And do you remember anything about it? I'd like to see your post if you're willing to share. If you're not, that's fine. I get it. But if you're willing to say, yes, I've had astral sex. Um, I've noticed I've also had OBE sex. And I've noticed one to be better than the other, or astral, or whatever. This just fascinates the hell out of me. I have to reload the effing page about every 10 seconds so that I can see what people are saying. It means, ooh, no, just visiting family. Got it. Boyfriend has a sister in Liberty. Okay, cool. So you guys, when we get moved in January, right? You guys are gonna have to gather it all up and come see us. Um, we will have 368 square foot in which to visit, ish, kind of, sort of, after a fashion. But yeah. So what is it that you guys constitute, or have you ever had astral sex? Anybody? And yes, I'm refreshing the page about every 10 or 15 seconds or so that I can see what you guys are posting. We're gonna give it a few moments. We're 20 minutes before the hour. We've about covered everything we can actually cover in astral sex, unless you guys have some questions, statements, or comments, things you want to talk about. Why would I want to download? Right? Hmm. Okay. I really hate this having to freaking refresh all the time. It's not that hard to do. If you've ever encountered astral, if you have followed the tips and tricks that I've given in the videos from um, part one all the way up, try some of those tips and tricks. First, get it down so that you're going to the astral, and then try out the different things. If you need more of a conversation on how it works, how to make it work, whatever, PM me, text me, IM me, set aside a time to give me a call. I'm fine one way or the other. Hit me up on a PM and we can talk more about it if you want to learn more about it. It really, astral sex really gets um, personal, and it becomes more personalized kind of from this point, because you've got the basics, you've got the understanding. One, it exists. Two, it's fun. Um, three, it's exciting. Okay. Um, but the biggest thing is just getting out and doing it, trying it. Find somebody that you know and trust to schedule a date and a time. Okay. Um, I'm going to go to bed at 10. You go to bed at 10 if they're in your same time zone, and schedule where you want to go and how you want to meet, and see if you remember it the next day. That's always fun. Kind of interesting. See. Clint says he had to refresh the page too. Yeah, I hear you. Got booted. Sabrina just came back in. Yeah, see, I don't know what the hell Facebook is doing, but they need to damn well knock it off, right? So where to from here? All right. Next week will be our review. Will be our comment and review section. Jot down your questions. Go back and rewatch some of the other videos. Right. Take a look at some of the other videos that we've done. Jot down your questions. I would really like to see some serious interaction next week. I think it would be really cool to have some serious interaction in the um, in the chat next week, if freaking Facebook will damn well cooperate, because I promise you, this having to refresh in live chat is for the effing birds. Okay, well, we're a quarter to the hour. I really have covered just about everything I can think of to cover, and even probably a few things that I didn't think of to cover in as far as astral and astral sex goes. Just remember that no matter where, where you're doing, what you're doing, whatever, always make it consensual. Um, Always be honorable. And that's about the best thing that you can hope for. Also, work on your internal morality, your self morality, how you feel about certain aspects. And if you're married, you have a mate, whatever, I will say this: make absolutely certain that you ask yourself one question: would I be okay if my mate was doing the same thing I am doing with others on the astral? That's one of the things that, as a prior swinger myself, I ask myself, would I be okay before I do something? I ask myself, would I be okay if my mate was doing the same thing I'm doing with others? If the answer is no, then you may want to think twice before you do it yourself. If the answer is yes, then by all means, jump off in there like a big dog, but be be well aware that your mate will be doing the same thing. Okay? Well, with that, I apologize for Facebook being Facebook. We really do need to find another avenue, but I don't know of any other avenue that people would just quickly go to. Um, Most people, quite honestly, are too lazy to go to YouTube. They would rather click on Facebook. They don't want to leave Facebook because, well, after all, they can listen to the broadcast and still browse their Facebook pages and see what everybody's doing. Right. Well, that being said. All right. I hope you have enjoyed the series in Astral. I hope that I've been able to answer some questions in the chats and the questions and the comments in the chat area have been able to be thought provoking and bring up some more questions. Again, next week is our review of Astral. We'll cover the highlights, hit the high points, answer some questions. So, that being said, I hope to see you next week here on Live with the Shaman. Thank you for watching.